What is up, people? You are listening to New Generation Hero Talk. Watching New Generation Hero Talk is a very special edition that we're doing on our live stream on our YouTube page, New Generation Media. We're doing this as a recap to what was a big Hall H for Marvel. They had their panel. They do this not necessarily every year, but every other year or so, they do a panel where they drop all the stuff about what they're going to be doing for the future years, movies that'll be coming out. We didn't have any TV show updates. I think that'll be saved probably for Disney D23 or Disney Investor Day. But we did get some major news regarding the future of the Avengers. So let's start off with the headliner, guys. And I think, first of all, shout out to my guys Shamari and Kendall who joined me as they always do. Shout out to the YouTube subscribers. Shout out to everybody watching us. And I think the big thing that happened that I'm not sure how much of a surprise it was. I think it was a surprise to some people maybe who haven't been paying attention, but something that has been rumored for a minute is we did get the confirmation that we will be having Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. That's right. Doctor Doom will be cast as Robert Downey Jr. for Avengers 5 and 6. Now, we know, of course, Avengers 6 is going to be Secret Wars. We got a new logo for that. But Avengers 5 was announced as a newly titled movie called, excuse me, that's what Marvel is listening, Doomsday. So you'll have the Russo brothers. That was reported last week that they will be coming back. That was confirmed also the at the Marvel Hall H panel. But you'll have Russo brothers directing Avengers Doomsday, which is now Avengers 5, and Avengers Secret Wars. And you'll be having Robert Downey Jr. cast as Doctor Doom. So we talked about this a little bit, Kendall. So I want to give Shamari the first crack at this. We talked about this on the last episode of Hero Talk, which was a preview of San Diego Comic Con. Sham, what are your thoughts on Marvel's decision to cast Robert Downey Jr., who famously played Tony Stark in Iron Man, casting him to be Doctor Doom in Avengers 5 and 6?
Very bold, but it makes sense, and I think that yeah, it's very bold, but I like it, and if this feels like I don't know if I say classic Marvel, but this feels like the thing, like something that's like, no, this is Marvel taking a shot, taking a big swing, with a character, a tentpole important character, and and a tentpole Marvel actor that people are
Mm-hmm.
familiar with, and um, and and even seeing the zeal with which Robert Downey came out and announced that he didn't just come on stage and do the wave and turn, like he came out and he was excited. He had the mask on,
All
taking the
in.
mask off and all that. So this is great. Um,
Right
this
there,
is like,
you're seeing the post from Discussing Film. Shout out to them. That
yes,
was
yes, shout out to them.
the official news with Downey as Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I mean, this is just it was announced in a way in which I can tell that this is something that Robert Downey is very much invested in. Maybe as much as him playing Iron Man. Um, so I'm all in. I'm all in. I want to see Robert Downey play as Doom. I want to see it. I want to see what it looks like. I'm very excited for it. I think it will enhance the Fantastic Four as well with his performances. So I'm looking forward to it.
So we got one thumbs up for Robert Downey as Doctor Doom. Kendall, what do you think about the decision to make Robert Downey Jr. Doctor Doom for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars?
Um, so I'm gonna say I'm not surprised, and we talked about why I'm not surprised last week, EJ. I came to the theory months ago when we found out that Galactus was definitely the villain in Fantastic Four,
Mm-hmm.
and that we didn't know if Doom was even going to be in that movie. Um, I came to the conclusion that the theory that Marvel may make Doctor Doom an Iron Man villain as opposed to a Fantastic Four villain in this universe. That they may align him with Tony Stark and make him sort of the anti Tony Stark, the genius tech guy, but that's evil as opposed to on the good side. Never when I went through that thought process did I think that what if they make him a Tony Stark variant? That never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
But it seems like that's where we're at. I think narratively there is potential because when you're dealing in a multiverse, like this doesn't necessarily have to be some Tony Stark that turned evil and changed his name to Victor Von Doom and is like, now he's Doctor Doom all of a sudden. He used to be Iron Man and something bad happened. Now he's Doctor. It doesn't have to be something so CW, so mustache twirly. Like he literally could just be Victor Von Doom that looks like Tony Stark in a different universe. So narratively, it's not that. There's still potential there. My issue, if I have one, is that I feel like it does diminish Doom a little bit, and it oversimplifies him as sort of an Iron Man adjacent Iron Man. It's sort of an Iron Man, again, just an Iron Man variant. Like, oh, that's just the evil Iron Man. Like, that's how a lot of people are going to view this. And again, I think that's doing Doctor Doom a bit of a disservice when we're talking about a character that can stand on his own 2 feet. As what the Russos describe him as possibly maybe the most important character in all of the Marvel universe. While yes, having Tony Stark does and Robert Downey Jr. does add gravitas to it, I just feel like there's so many actors that also could have added a gravitas, could have added cachet, besides Robert Downey Jr. There's like, for example, the guy I've always thrown out, I think most people have thrown out, is Cillian Murphy. Happened to be in the same movie as Robert Downey Jr. last year in Oppenheimer. I think he would have been the perfect guy to play Robert Downey. But you could argue that Cillian Murphy, as big as he was in Oppenheimer, he may have gotten to the level now, but maybe prior to that, I don't know if he had the cachet of Robert Downey Jr. Okay, you may be there now, but he wasn't there maybe when these conversations were had a year ago. But so again, and what other actors are there that would have been in the mix? Like you would have been talking legacy actors like a Denzel Washington or people talked about Ben Affleck at a certain point in time. Like you be talking about guys like that. You're talking about only the A-list. And do any of those people, would they want to do it? Do they make sense for Doom? That's the question. So from a cachet standpoint, there aren't that many people that rise to the level of Robert Downey Jr. But again, I just feel like they're sacrificing a lot for the narrative that they want to tell, because you can't tell me, while Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, you can't tell me for a fact that he's definitely the best actor to play Doom, and that's the only reason that they're casting Robert Downey Jr. in this role is because he's the best actor to play Doom. Because the whole story's got to be shifted completely to make this make sense. Like if you told me, if there's any other actor, I believe you. Whether or not I agree is one thing, but I believe you that they had to have cast this person because they think he's a great fit for the role. It has nothing to do with the story. But when you cast Robert Downey Jr., it's like, well, they may think he's great to play Doom. I don't deny that, but
yeah,
obviously they also have a story that they want to tell with Tony Stark being, turning evil. My theory in terms of the story, my guess is this might be, and I think the way that I would like to see it done, if they are doing it, we know they're doing it, but the way I'd like to see it done is maybe like a Superman Red Sun type of thing, where this is like a Tony Stark that grew up as Victor Von Doom and grew up in a different, but it's the same guy in terms of DNA, genetics, and all that. But like this is a what if Tony Stark grew up in Latveria, with again the same DNA, and he turns into Victor Von Doom, and that could still be really cool. The same genius intellect, personality type similar, but he's just But again, he just turns evil in this universe. That could be cool, but again, is that Doctor Doom? Like, that's my question. Like, or are we resigning him to just being an Iron Man variant? You could have done that same exact story. You could have done Superman Red Sun and named him Superior Iron Man, or named him something else. Like, you didn't have to make him Doctor Doom to do a Superman Red Sun Tony Stark story.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, guys. You guys asked me how I feel about it.
I'm not feeling it.
I'm not feeling it, guys. I'm really not. This was an interesting experience for me. This whole Ace panel, following the Twitter. Shout out to everybody that was updating people. Again, we had discussing film on there. Comicbook.com was doing their thing. MCU Direct was doing their thing. I mean, everybody had all their eyes on these. I think everybody that wasn't at Comic-Con had their eyes on their phone or their computer. I had my notifications up to make sure I got every update as soon as it came out. And I was all in on everything I was seeing up to that point. We'll talk about the stuff they announced before, and we'll talk about the Russos in a second. It was when they got to here where I literally was the meme of the guy taking his headphones off, man. That's who I was. That's who I was when that happened, because we talked about this, Kendall, literally just a couple days ago.
You didn't buy it.
I did not buy, I think the literal words I said on the podcast, and it's still up. You guys want to check it out? It's on all social media, all audio platforms, streaming platforms. I think the words I said was, I don't want to believe this because of how stupid it sounds. Yeah. And here we are on Saturday night, almost Sunday on the East Coast, and we're talking about Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom, even though he already played Iron Man. Let me make some things clear. Do I think Robert Downey Jr. could play an excellent Doctor Doom? Yes. Do I think connecting Doctor Doom to Iron Man can work? Yes. Do I think it makes sense to go back to the variant bag and talk about having a Tony Stark, the guy who is most synonymous with Marvel Studios as being their anchor hero? And I'm not going to say any more about what that means, but just you people who know what I mean know what I'm talking about. Their anchor being. And you're going to make him a whole different character? A character that's also well-known, people know who it is? That doesn't make any sense to me. And it doesn't make any sense when I just heard Kevin Feige just a couple days ago. He was talking about how the casual moviegoer doesn't actually really understand the difference between Marvel and DC a lot of the times. It's something we talked about a bunch in this show. He said he got people telling him, hey, great job on Blue Beetle. He's like, okay, I don't know what to say to that. It's not my movie. So how are you going to tell me 2 days ago that people don't even know the difference between DC and Marvel movies, and you're going to make the main character of your entire Marvel universe a totally different character, and now the main villain of your universe moving forward? I'm sorry. I love the Russos. I love Robert Downey Jr. and I love Marvel. I can't sit here today and lie to you and tell you that I'm very confident they're going to figure this out. This feels like all of the stuff we've heard that people complaining that Marvel's going for money grabs. Marvel's desperate. Marvel's grasping at straws. This is what this feels like to me. Well, this feels like something where we're like, yo, we don't know what to do. Well, we gotta get Dr. Doom in here because we gotta get rid of Kang. We now see this is the kind of confirmation Kang is gone. Rest in pieces, I guess. And then it's like, what do we do? Let's get the biggest star we had before. Let's bring him back, but now let's make him a villain. Like, I posted the memes. This feels like that. It feels like that meme of Vince McMahon being like, "It was me, Austin. It was me all along." I mean, he literally takes off the mask like Vince McMahon did on Raw in 1999. Like, I'm sorry, this. I don't have a lot of confidence in this. Victor Von Doom is a compelling character in himself. I do not need him to be a version of Iron Man. I don't want him to be a version of Iron Man. I want Victor Von Doom to be grown up in Latveria, totally within himself, not a version of another character. I think it is disrespectful to Victor Von Doom. It is. And I don't even know if he's going to be Von Doom. We don't know any of that. We don't know. He could be Tony Stark, unless there's something I don't know.
Yeah, they did call him Victor Von Doom.
All right.
Variety and also did, but I 100% agree with that point of it. I mean, I used the analogy earlier. Um, it'd be like the Flash if they decided we're gonna make Reverse Flash just Barry Allen if he was evil.
It's
And
Savitar.
he's not.
We talked about this the other day. I literally said this in the
Right.
podcast. I said this
Right.
feels like Savitar.
And you know what's great about Savitar, EJ? You know what's great about
Nothing.
Savitar? Well, yeah, nothing. But
Nothing. At least not in the TV show. It was nothing.
What was great about the Savitar twist is nobody cared about Savitar as a character. The backstory was irrelevant. So
Right.
it was like, oh, whatever, do whatever you want, Evil Barry, whatever. You can't do that with Reverse Flash because Reverse Flash has a backstory that people care about. You can't just make Eobard Thawne Barry Allen and think that people are just gonna buy. Like comic book fans aren't gonna buy that. They're gonna be like, no, like that you're just changing the story because you're changing what was a good, cool story because it would have been easier for you, or you think it would have been a cool twist, whatever. Like you can get away with that with you could have get with a million different characters. You can't get away with that with Doctor Doom. You can't change Doctor Doom's backstory and think that people aren't gonna complain and be like, yeah, we're just gonna make Doctor Doom Iron Man, and you guys are gonna love it because you guys like the casuals may love it, and I'm not gonna be a gatekeeper and be like, oh,
Nope.
Screw what the casuals think, but like I just think that casuals could have loved an actual great Doctor Doom that has nothing to do with Tony Stark.
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you guys. I do think other people could have played the character. Like, I know other people could have played the character, but I even like the previous Doctor Doom we got in the first movies. I thought he was great.
Oh, okay. Julian McMahon. I thought you were gonna. You said the previous Doctor Doom. I was like, the previous Doctor Doom.
Not
maybe the worst villain.
Yeah. I was about to say,
that was the worst superhero movie villain I've ever seen. No,
Shamari, when you said that the previous Fantastic Four movie, Kendall's eyes was the size of Texas. He was like, elaborate, brother. I need an elaboration on that one.
No,
I was like,
no one should go.
I was like,
no
we've
one
had
should watch
plenty of conversation about that movie.
No. Those movies do not count. But or that one movie doesn't count. But yeah, no. From the first one, I thought he was. So I know that we can get multiple doctors. We can get different.
And Robert Downey, not to cut you off, but Robert Downey was in the mix in that when Julian McMahon got the role the first time in 2005. That he was the guy that he came in second, I guess.
And I want to see. I'm curious to see what he does as Doom. I really am. I think what we're gonna get is gonna be good. I just have a good feeling about it, and especially with the Russos behind it, and with them doing this and the Doomsday and Secret Wars, I have a very good feeling. And Robert Downey is very talented. I'm sure, I'm sure they saw either something that Robert did as Doom, and we're like, yeah, we can work with this. I think that happened. It may not have, but I think it happened. So and I think that.
Do you guys think that this is more about Downey's ability to play Doctor Doom, or do you think this has more to do with they have a specific multiverse story want to tell about Iron Man that involves him being Doctor Doom?
I think this is, and I totally get Shamari's points. I think this is more to do with Iron Man, and I'm not saying that Iron Man's I don't think Iron Man's gonna be in Doomsday. I think he'll probably make an appearance in Secret Wars. I think this is definitely more about they're gonna realize they're up against an unbelievable force. They don't know who this is or how this is happening, and then eventually he's gonna reveal his face and be like, "Yo, that's Tony Stark's face. What the f?" Like that's gonna be the whole bit, and they're gonna be like, well, of course, we can't stop Tony Stark. Like Tony Stark, if he had an evil mind, would be unstoppable, and it's not a story. It's not like it's a story that hasn't been done before. It's not like we haven't had the superior Iron Man in comic books. Like I get it. I get all that. I just feel like again, it's just we could have done without this. I think you could have just developed the Doctor Doom. I don't think we needed a connection to Iron Man. It's weird to be going to be they've done so much to essentially say that so much of the multiverse era was a mistake. and words of a mistake, and yet it feels like now, as you try to get your way out of it and write your way out of it, you're doing the ultimate multiverse trope thing. Like, and
Right.
it pains my heart to talk this way about Marvel because I love Marvel, but I will always keep it 100 when I step to this microphone. This feels very tropey. It feels okay. We Kang screwed up. People are upset. What do we do? All right, let's bring back Robert Downey and make him an evil version of Iron Man. I'm just like, Doctor Doom is not an evil version of Iron Man. There's a lot of ways to explain him.
What I
That is
will
not how you describe Doctor
say
Doom.
is there is nothing that they could have done that could have gotten more, not just eyeballs, but like more confidence. Like you could have, like, again, Cillian Murphy's the guy, but you could throw out a bunch of them. Mads Mikkelsen's another name. You could have brought those guys out there, and there would have been a ton of excitement because those guys are great actors that would have fit the role. Michael Fassbender, another guy. You know, you would have told me Michael Fassbender was Doom, I'd be like, yo, like I love him as Magneto, but that also,
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Yeah.
But would people have been sure that the story and the narrative, not just like people like us, because I think we would have loved it, but like, again, does this cut through to the people that think Marvel's washed, and it'll say, oh, cool, like Michael Fassbender is Doom, but like, you know, in what movie? Like, we already did that with Kang. We tried that with Kang. We brought in Majors, and it didn't work. Like, even when we saw him, like, he was good in Loki, but then like in Ant-Man, he was all right, and then that the whole thing fell apart. Like, they may feel like, man, like, screw like trying to do anything new. Like, we just need to go back to the well and just bring back Iron Man and like. And I think that they're really, you know, shortchanging Doctor Doom as a character, and like themselves as creatives. Like, you really can't craft an incredible, deep story around Doctor Doom that's got nothing to do with. I mean, I don't even say it has nothing to do with Tony Stark, but it doesn't have Robert Downey Jr. playing him. Like, it just doesn't have him being
honestly,
that seems like the bare minimum.
I know. I agree.
Like, honestly, I have a lot of, and I don't know, maybe it's misplaced. I honestly have a lot of faith in the Russos. They've earned my trust, and I would suspect, I wouldn't think that they would sign on to something that was so blatantly just, we need Robert back. You're gonna find a way to put Robert in whatever stories you create. Like, he's in it. Iron Man's coming back, right? Iron Man coming back in your Avengers movies. I don't think they would have signed on. Like, if it was just that, cash grabby, if it was that this is about Robert, this is about bringing him back. Like, I don't think that's. I think they had an idea. And honestly, I don't know. They may have been the ones that were like, okay, let's see what he did. Right? Let's see if this is something that, if we think that this is the Doom that we want to bring to life, you know. So I want to see what they do, what this is story wise, because I'm more excited now. I'm more excited to see what they release.
You mentioned it before we got on air, Shmari. Like, I've been banging the drum for Doom for over a year now. When Marvel's having these issues, I was like, where is Doctor Doom? Like, this is the guy that can get you out of all this. Yeah. This is the guy that can get you out of every situation that you have right now in terms of apathy. Like, you know, the X-Men are a thing, but the X-Men are hard to bring in. Doom, you could have dropped Doom in Wakanda Forever. That movie immediately would have been a lot more interesting for a lot of people. And they decided not to. Like, if Doom would have been in Wakanda Forever, I don't think it has anything to do with Tony Stark, or at least I don't think it's Robert Downey Jr. playing him. And they've held on. I think that this is something new that they came up with. I think EJ, I think your timeline of events is probably right. You know, I think the King thing fell apart. We heard the reports last year from, I think it was Variety, that was like, yeah, you know, Marvel started talking about maybe we should do Doctor Doom and make him the villain of Secret Wars, and somehow that conversation turned into, what if we make Robert Downey Jr. our Doctor Doom? I mean, look, the reason I have to hold out is because this isn't. It's because I don't think that this is a casting about the actor. The actor is great, and they love the actor, but I think that there's a story there on top of the actor that they want to tell. So I have to see it. Like, I'm skeptical. I'm disappointed in their thought process, but the story is great. Then it won't matter. I mean, and Doctor Doom's such a great story and a great character, and Robert Downey Jr. is such a great actor. It's probably going to be great. So I can't be that upset. It's just risky, Again, you feel like you're diminishing a great character. I mean, how many imagine if they made Lex Luthor and they said, yeah, he's gonna be played by the same guy who played
Henry Cavill.
Wayne.
Yeah, he's played by Henry Cavill.
Cavill.
And you're like, what?
Like in universe, yeah.
like we would never like. I mean, yeah, we gotta keep it 100. Kind of like we would never accept that. We would never accept that.
Like DCU, they're like Ben Affleck's playing Batman and he's playing Lex Luthor.
Yeah, you'd be like, what?
Evil Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, like, what if Bruce Wayne, was like Lex Luthor? You're like, what? Well, I don't care about that. I don't want to know about that. I don't care. Like, I'm being real now. Like, again, I love all the people that are involved with this project, so I will give it all the chances in the world. But again, like I said, I would keep it 100, so I got to keep it real. I'm not feeling the approach to this. I think they could have just done a Doctor Doom, and I would have been through the moon. They would have announced Doom. I mean, when they announced Doomsday, I was like, yo, let's go. This is it. Like, we back. So, and then I hear Robert Downey come out, and I'm like, what are we doing?
So here's the other, not to cut you off, but here's the other thing about Doom that I am worried about with Robert Downey is, again, when I've talked to you guys about Doom for the last year or two, I kept saying, like, Doom is they have the potential to make Doctor Doom the superhero movie version of Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. And while, look, we love Hayden Christensen, like, a lot of people, in part, what they didn't like about Anakin was it kind of gave Doctor Doom a face. Like, I mean, it gave Darth Vader a face. It gave him a character, behind the mask. And if you're making Robert Downey Jr. Doctor Doom, does Tony Stark become Doctor Doom? Like, does Victor Von Doom become a bigger character than he should be? Or should we feel like
bigger personality? You mean?
Right? Is he becoming someone like is he gonna be walking around without his mask half the time? Is he gonna be? Is it gonna be a big deal about again what he looks like? I'm sure his face will be all mangled and stuff, but like. In many ways, like, we shouldn't even have to care who's playing Doctor Doom. Like, we should be more worried about who's voicing Doctor Doom and less about, like, who's even, like, under the mask. And maybe that'll be how they play him. But they've already announced that it's Robert Downey Jr. Like, they were already getting out in Front Street. Like, because
I don't think they can play the game of, like, oh, he looks like Tony Stark, but, like, nobody picks up on that. I don't think that they can play that game. I think that there's no way they're not going to do this without referencing that, oh, this is Tony Stark. And again, but it's Tony Stark from a different universe, and now he's Victor Von Doom. I don't know. It's hard for me to really get behind it. But we do have, again, the Russo brothers directing both now Doomsday and Secret Wars. I think there is some positives with that, though, and why. I'm not going to say just, oh, there's no way this is going to work, but I have my doubts on if this could work. One thing is that they have a lot of experience with doing what Marvel's trying to do with these two movies. They're scheduled to come out back-to-back years. Russo just did that with Infinity War and Endgame, so I think that they'll be up to the task, I think. And hearing the commentary or seeing the quotes from Comic-Con, it seems like they, were burned out by the first run, and I understand that completely, but they're kind of rejuvenated and they're ready. And I think the familiarity they have with Downey is going to help them a ton. So that gives me a lot of hope for this. I like the title, Avengers Doomsday. I think that it's pretty obvious, clear what's going on. It's, I think, an original title. I don't know. I can't think of a comic book that's been named Doomsday. I'm sure maybe there is one. But it's not like an obvious Civil War or some Secret Invasion, some of the ones that's been more recent where everyone knows what those mean. Like, this feels like a little bit original, so I'm kind of digging that. So we'll see what the Russos do. I'm excited that they're back. And one of the things we also learned in this Hall H panel was that we will be having a new name for the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four will be in both Avenger movies, which I think is great. Again, I was loving everything I was hearing until the Robert Downey thing. Awesome. So people who have that concern about, oh, will there be an issue with, the connection between Reed and Doom or Sue and Doom. Like, I think we'll be just fine because I think we're gonna have, perhaps we keep thinking maybe Iron Man's gonna be the guy that beats Doom, but I think it will be the Fantastic Four that maybe beats him in the Avengers movie, or at least puts him over the hump. So that will start the rivalry between Doom and the Fantastic Four. But they will be in the movie, and now we have a new title, the Fantastic Four: First Steps. We have confirmation of Galactus as a villain, and there was some apparently really cool test footage of Galactus looking through a building during the test footage they showed. They're shooting this movie literally tomorrow. They begin shooting in London, which is pretty intense because that means they basically have a year to shoot, edit, post production, and put this movie out. I'll go to Sham. How do you feel, Sham, about like where things are with the Fantastic Four, their insertion in the new Avenger movies, and the announcement of the new title, First Steps?
I'm glad they're pushing Fantastic Four. It's very long overdue, as we've been saying on the show for, at this point, years. It's good. It's good. I'm loving the promotion. They're sticking with this, kind of 60s niche, like 60s kind of Jetsons, it's kind of like almost like retro futuristic kind of deal, and I'm digging it. Yeah, it's good, and I know they showed footage as well, which that's exciting. I'm sure the reaction was probably positive. But,
yeah. What I saw is there was test footage because they haven't shot anything yet, but like someone was saying, even the test footage looked really good. Right. I think it was. I don't want to make up who it was. It was somebody. It was a Frosty type. It might have been Frosty, but it wasn't him. It was somebody else. Someone was saying like, "Wow, they were really impressed with how good the test footage looked." They had Pedro Pascal. They had Galactus again. Apparently, it looked really good.
Yeah. So, no, I'm really excited. I'm excited. I'm happy to see that they're about to get to work, and that the Fantastic Four are going to be the Avengers movie, which I would have expected, but it's good that that's been confirmed as well.
Yeah, I think that was one of the better news we had from this. And Kendall, when they talked about the powers of the Fantastic Four, they talked about really trying to go to a physics and elemental background to get these powers right. They talked about going to the desert to look at the kind of rocks they wanted for a thing. It seems like the attention detail on this is really high, and the movie is being set in what was called a futuristic 1960s, which who knows what that means, what that looks like. But we did get a look at the Fantastic car that was actually at the Hawley's panel. Actually flew over the stage, which was pretty cool. How do you feel, Kendall, about what you heard about the Fantastic Four and this new movie now titled First Steps?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, the Fantastic Four. Look, Marvel's in a weird spot, so I can't say for sure that I am as excited for the Fantastic Four movie with everything I've heard, with the cast, and with just the way Marvel has operated the last 3 years. Can't say I'm more excited for it now than I was when they announced it, or when they bought Fox. I am still more excited for this than almost any other movie they have coming out. So that is still impressive.
Really,
but
this is the one you're even more than Secret Wars?
No, more than almost everything else.
Kendall's like, listen to my words. I said almost everything else.
Yeah,
I got you.
X-Men. And then Fantastic Four, probably. So again, small list, but I'd say it's probably right up there. But yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm not nervous because First Steps. My mind goes to it has something to do with them being a part of the space race, 60s space race.
Yeah, I think I saw something saying the Future Foundation was featured in this.
right, and some of the test footage. So that part could be cool. First steps could be referencing the kids, Franklin and Valeria, which I'm less excited about, but they could be going for an Incredibles kind of vibe. Um, I don't know. I got to see more, but I like. It's not totally disappointment right now, but it's still. I'd say skepticism is a better word. I think it's just general skepticism because at the end of the day, you know, you can say, we went to Egypt to find the best rocks to make Thing, but like Thing, I thought Thing looked pretty decent in the last joint in 2015, which we just talked about. It was a terrible movie. Michael Chiklis didn't look as good, but Michael Chiklis was a great Thing. Those were C+ movies at best. So, how do we figure out how to get the Fantastic Four right? I think that's what they're trying to do here, but they're also doing something so outside of the box that's generally that's my general issue right now with Marvel. And it's again, they're going in a certain direction. It is the multiverse saga. Clearly, they said to themselves, we can't just do what we did with Spider-Man in in Civil War. We can't just do what we did when we brought in Spider-Man and we just threw him in and say, yeah, the kid, he's always been here, new hero, you just hadn't seen him yet. That worked. Nobody complained. Nobody was like, this doesn't make any sense. Everyone loved it. But when they bought the Fox characters, they had to play 4-dimensional chess and say, how do we figure out how do we introduce Fantastic Four, put them in the 1960s in a different universe that's like the Jetsons, and I don't know how this is going to tie, but they're going to be in Avengers 5 and 6. How? I don't know, but we're going to buy it. And then what about Doctor Doom? Oh, well, Doctor Doom, great character. We're going to make him Iron Man, but he's evil. It's like nobody.
You say this stuff out loud, and you just it does make.
If you would have told us this in 2019 when they bought Fox, we'd have been like, why? Why wouldn't you just make Doctor Doom Victor Von Doom and just cast a great actor to play him? Why wouldn't you just put the Fantastic Four in the Marvel Wars organically? Like, doesn't mean these movies can't be great. Doomsday may be great. Fantastic Four, it looks like they're going to try and really push the boundaries of what we've seen in superhero films. So this could be a great movie, but I mean, shoot, like, this sounds different for sure. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I can't say I'm not nervous about how this movie's going to play out. I have to see footage before I can really put the stamp on. I will say I do like how they said that. Someone at least said, I don't know if it was Shackman, that they're almost making him a Bill Nye the Science Guy type. Reed Richards, they almost made Reed Richards a Bill Nye the Science Guy.
That's a very good archetype for Reed Richards. Yeah. I mean, I like what I heard. I like the title is interesting. It's a lot of, there's 2 numbers in there, so Fantastic Four, first steps, like first 4, I don't know. A lot of it's a little bit of alliteration, a lot of F's in there. I'm not sure how I love the title, to be honest, but I get it. It kind of feels very on the nose, like Spider-Man Homecoming. There's no denying what Spider-Man Homecoming. Yes, it was a homecoming dance, but like we also knew what that meant in terms of homecoming return to back to being with the Marvel family, so to speak. This, first steps. Okay, we know this is the first steps, literally, of like Marvel's foray into the Fantastic Four, Marvel's foray into Fox characters. I mean, we know we technically had Deadpool and Wolverine, but here it's like outside of mutants, here is Marvel's first real true foray into Fox characters, and the one that's not necessarily taking legacy characters from Fox, or legacy actors from Fox, like Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Here, this is Marvel. We're starting our own thing. These are the people we cast. So first steps, very on the nose. I get it from that standpoint. I'm not sure how smooth it is as a title, but I think it's smart to change the title only because I think they had to differentiate from the other Fantastic Four. Like, first 2 movies are called Fantastic Four. There's no other difference between them. So they had to put something in there. and they chose this. I would have just did Fantastic Four Galactus. I don't know. That's what I would have. That's what I would have
Right.
did or something like that. But
The Incredible Fantastic Four, the Marvelous Fantastic Four, like
yeah, I would have. Yeah, I would have been a little more creative than that. Fantastic Four Future Foundation. Like again, if they're going to be a part, if that is an aspect of the movie, maybe do something like that. Maybe they want to save that for later. But I still love this. Like I love this logo. I think the logo is super cool. Like I don't know, it just feels very like 1970s, 1960s Fantastic Four cartoon, which is a cartoon I was watching as a kid, and I was just watching the Jetsons literally a couple days ago because I was just this is what I do in my in my random spare time. I was just watching Jetsons. It feels very Jetsons like. I'm all for the vibes of what they're trying to go for. I just know it's just all about the execution because it's something that like Kendall said is very off the beaten path. When we say these things out loud, you're just like, why would they do that? Why would they just go with a more conventional way forward with the Fantastic Four? But I like that there's no delays. Kevin Feige at one point promised this movie will definitely not be delayed. I don't know why he did that. That seemed a little weird.
That's still the same weekend Superman comes out, or is it like the same?
I think
around
it is.
The same time.
Yeah, I think it is. Which is maybe why he said that. Maybe he wanted to kind of
staring James Gunn in the eyes, man.
I think he is. I think that was his way of saying I'm not moving. So we've seen Marvel movies need reshoots. Like this Captain America movie needed a ton of reshoots. Like I don't know. Like if they have to move the date, they have to move the date. Like I don't know why. And I think this is maybe growth from my standpoint because I've been always the guy like, oh man, these delays are killing me. But I was like, he said that today. I was like, if you have to move the date, move the date.
Movie. Like if there was a movie you had to move, like you gotta move Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I mean now I think they really want
right.
I mean it's the July summer blockbuster, just like they had with. I think they want to make sure they have that. So I get it because how far are you moving it back? You move back to October. You're talking about a whole different movie calendar. So I get it from that standpoint, and a year is enough time. I don't want to make it sound like they can't do this right. I mean,
and they've pushed this movie back a lot.
I mean, it's been pushed back a million times.
It's been out already.
Yeah.
Right, but script's done, casting's done. They're shooting literally tomorrow. Everything's set up. So can you do a movie in a year? 1,000%. I'm just saying. I thought it was weird for him to put out there that they're definitely not being. It's definitely not getting moved because if one bad thing happens or whatever, and now you're screwed, and now you're like, oh, I got to go back on what I said earlier.
That's news. From this, for me, was that they said Michael Giacchino was doing the score.
Yeah,
I thought that was a massive win.
That was a massive win,
particularly with the aesthetic being so unique. I'm very confident. Giacchino, he's done a lot of work with Star Trek as well, and again, we've talked about how Star Trek seemingly is going to be a sort of influence for this story. Matt Shackman having worked on, at least was planning on working on the next Star Trek film before they pulled him off to do this. So could be something there, but excited because Michael Giacchino, whenever he's attached to a Marvel movie, there's great music involved.
Exactly. EJ Stewart, Smart Stewart, Kendall Stewart here. We're doing a recap of San Diego Comic-Con. We've talked plenty about the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Oh, excuse me, as Dr. Doom, not as Iron Man. We had a comment earlier. I want to repost again real quick. It was Harley Human who posted, it kind of feels like Marvel still doesn't believe they can make a decent storyline without RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. That's going to be the conclusion that some people will come to. And that's something that they are welcoming. Now, it does not matter if this movie is fantastic. No pun intended. It does not matter. Like, we can say, oh, it looks like you're going to, well, if they just do a dope-ass movie, I mean, all this conjecture that we're doing won't matter, and I think that's what they're banking on. And they're saying, we're going to grab maybe the best actor in Hollywood today, and our best directors, the guys that have made our best movies, and say that our best will beat your conjecture and beat your contrarianism when it comes to this idea. Will it work? It's all wait and see game. That's why we play the games that they say in sports. Like, this is why we do the movies and see how it goes. And I think the one benefit they will have too is if it doesn't work, I'm assuming the universe reboots anyway after Secret War. So
that's
it's
the other question I have.
It's a little bit of like, hey, we can just shoot from the logo, and if we miss, we say, all right, well, X-Men next year, so don't worry about it, guys.
how long is he even playing Doctor Doom?
I don't think I don't think he's Doctor Doom beyond Secret Wars, which is also why I don't like this.
Right, because Doctor Doom should be a player for the next 10 years.
Yes.
Like, he's not a guy where there's a one story and then he can go away, we can get rid of him forever. Like, they already have a problem where they kill off too many villains. You can't kill off Doctor Doom. Like, that would be terrible.
I agree.
He should be on the chessboard, even if he's not, like, in the mix. This can't be a Thanos situation. Like, this is bigger than Thanos. I hate to say it. Some people may be like, it's blasphemous. I don't think it is. I think this is very clear.
I don't think it is
bigger. This is a bigger deal, bigger character than Thanos.
Yeah, there's very few people you could say that about. But, like, yes, he's one of them. Like
Kang, I wouldn't have said that. I'd have been like, you can. There's a 1-2 movie deal with Kang. We don't need him more than that. With Doom, no, this is different. This is Magneto. Like, you don't just kill off Magneto after 2 movies. You keep him on the board as long as you can.
No, you're 100% right. Like, sorry, Darkseid is bigger than Brainiac. Like, it's like, it's not a disrespect to Brainiac. This is what we're doing. I mean, Doctor Doom.
I can't wait for Hugh Jackman to be cast as Magneto in the MCU. I can't wait.
That'd be quite awkward. What are some of the other things as we kind of wrap up here? This recap of Hall H, and thank you guys so much for checking us out. Again, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. Make sure you listen to our podcast, New Generation Podcast Network. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Some of the other things that came out of this panel real quick. So we got some Thunderbolts action. The whole crew for the Thunderbolts is there. Ghost now confirmed to be, I guess, back in the movie. We thought she was in the movie initially, and then all the promotion, she was none of the promotional art. So, okay, I guess she's not, but now she's back. So she's in it. There's thoughts that maybe Val's the person that bought Avengers Tower. I think there's a scene that was shown that apparently like they were in Avengers Tower and she was in there. Kendall, shaking your head. You don't like that?
No, I don't. I mean, we talked about this last week, EJ. I mean, Feige said in an interview, he was asked, when are we gonna find out somebody, bought Stark Tower? He's like, pretty soon. He's like, what is soon a year? He's like, yeah, in the next year you'll find it out. We thought, it's got to be Fisk. I mean, it's got to be Fisk Tower. Wilson Fisk bought it. It's not as great as like Oscorp or like maybe the Baxter Building, but I can live with Wilson Fisk buying Stark Tower. If you told me that this is just some play for the Thunderbolts with Val, I mean, you want to talk about lame? I don't think that I can guarantee you this was not the plan. I'll put it out there because what was that, Spider-Man Homecoming? That was a long time ago. It was what, 2018? Spider-Man Homecoming came out. You mean to tell me in 2018 that they had a plan for the Thunderbolts to be the ones that are based in Avengers Tower? I don't buy it. And if that's the case, then Marvel is just as delusional as we sometimes suspect, because that's a terrible idea.
One of the things noted in this movie, Ishmari, Florence Pugh apparently really taking center stage, according to Sebastian Stan, that she's the real standout here.
It's good. I thought she was great in Black Widow.
Yeah, we just watched Black Widow, Kendall, and our parents at my apartment a couple days ago, or last week now. Yeah,
she was great in that. She was great in Hawkeye, I believe. She was also in.
She's the best actor. I mean, she's one. If we're being honest, she's one of the best actors in the entire MCU.
Yeah.
In terms of her credibility.
Yeah, of the characters that are alive or quote unquote active, she is probably top 5.
Easily.
Yeah, probably top 5
Absolutely.
Easily.
Yeah.
And
she's a powerhouse.
So we got some Thunderbolts action. Shout out to David Harbour showing up in his Red Guardian costume. That looked pretty funny. We also had some info on Captain America: Brave New World. So they got to watch some footage. Apparently, the Red Hulk apparently was doing a White House press briefing. Almost, it seemed like. Apparently, you had Thunderbolt Ross, President Ross, at the White House doing a press conference. He turns into Red Hulk literally in the actual press conference, which is pretty gnarly.
At a certain point, you would have told me this, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. I'd have been like, that'll never happen. Now I'm like, I don't know. Maybe one day we'll just watch, a presidential press conference where the guy turns into the Hulk. It sounds pretty normal.
I know. That's what I was thinking when I saw that. I was like, you know what? From what we've been seeing in real life, that don't even sound that crazy to me. That the president also is the Red Hulk. Why not? We've seen everything else at this point, right? But yeah, so we did get some stuff again for Captain America: Brave New World. That's kind of how all this started. How do you guys feel about where that movie stands, Kendall, in terms of some of the stuff they talked about at Comic Con? Today? We got official on what the character John Carlo Esposito is playing.
Yeah, Sidewinder.
Sidewinder, head of the Serpent Society. Will probably disappoint those calling for him to be Magneto, Professor X, but this is the way, I guess. How you feel about what you got from Captain America: Brave New World?
Right. I mean, yeah, so like there were definitely some people, that were reacting to the Sidewinder news with a lot of disappointment, like you said. Because there were reports that he's probably not playing Magneto, but like maybe he's playing Stryker, maybe he's playing Gyrick.
Yeah.
People are still throwing out X-Men characters. They're throwing out whatever else, because there was the adamantium part, which they talk more about adamantium in this thing, but like some people think, this is going to tie into Weapon X somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, it turned out that he's just playing the leader of the Serpent Society. And like you said, it feels, I'm not going to say it's beneath Giancarlo Esposito, because look, Robert Redford played Alexander Pierce. Like, I don't know who Alexander Pierce is in the MCU. Robert Redford, is beyond that. So, that's something that you can do is cast a major actor in a role to elevate it. And you can have him play a D-list, C-list villain and have him try and elevate that character. I will say nothing from what we saw in the trailer screams Serpent Society. I'll just be honest. Like, he's
nothing.
He's wearing shades and a trench coat.
Nothing.
Like, nothing about that screams Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
Or, Madam Viper or anything like snake related. Like nothing about it. But again, that
he did look cool though. I don't want to just
cool.
I don't want to completely bury the costume because he did look cool. But yeah, nothing
cool.
screams Serpent Society. I had no idea he was part of Serpent Society.
Yeah, you're telling me this is the Serpent Society. Like, clearly you want to go to more practical concept of the Serpent Society that they're doing. But
which is weird because we saw those pictures of WWE superstar Seth Rollins when he was in this movie. Now it sounds like he's not in this movie, but he was in a costume that looked more Serpent Society like. So I don't know. Maybe because John Garsko, he's maybe Sidewinder because he's the leader. Maybe he doesn't have to dress like the others. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Right. Now again, this is an example of, unlike the Downey thing. Like, I'm totally fine with you just casting a major actor and again putting him on, telling me Sidewinder is just gonna be Giancarlo Esposito, same Esposito that you love in Mandalorian or you love in The Boys or whatever other thing he's in. Like, it's the same guy, but it's Sidewinder. No one's gonna complain. You know why? Because no one cares about Sidewinder. But the problem is, again, you told me that Giancarlo Esposito's playing Doctor Doom. That could be great, but what I don't want to hear is he's just gonna be Giancarlo Esposito playing, or The Rock playing Doctor Doom is just gonna be The Rock. Like, you gotta adapt that character the actor's gotta adapt to the role. So in this situation, I'd imagine he's just playing Moff Gideon from Mandalorian. But it's no one cares because it's a great actor, great character, and Sidewinder has no backstory that anybody cares about.
Shamar, are you disappointed in the Sidewinder reveal for Esposito?
No, I'm not disappointed. I mean, he's Giancarlo Esposito. I'm just happy he's in the movie at this point. He's gonna deliver a great performance. Regardless of how big or small the role is. I mean, I am a big fan, and him being in this movie is a benefit to this movie. And I was never necessarily on the Magneto, Professor X, any of those bandwagons anyway. But so yeah, I'm not too disappointed. I'm excited to see him in the movie.
He could have been a really good Mr. Sinister. I just want to throw that out there. He could have been a really good Mr. Sinister.
Well, look, we've now crossed new boundaries with Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom. So anything is possible. Now nobody's off the board to play another character.
And let me say this. Now, we're not going to get into spoilers for Deadpool, but there is a version of what we're talking about with Downey that may have happened in Deadpool that suggests that you can have actors play multiple, multiple versions. So it's like, you know, if we're talking about, yeah, I mean, it's not off the table that you know he could play Magneto and play Sidewinder at the same time.
The last thing I wanted to get to on this panel, and it came from the Captain America: Brave New World thing, was, man, people were really happy about this. The idea that we finally will get our answers with the Celestial that's hanging out in the Arctic. That is going to be the official introduction of adamantium into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'll tell you what, I'll be real. These people that kept complaining about this, I got why they kept doing it, but they were starting to become a little annoying to me. It was like every 2 seconds, it was like, what about the Celestial? What's going on with the
I saw a
Celestial?
tweet today.
It's been 7, 8 movies. We don't know what's going on with it. Like, relax. They'll get to the. You all didn't like Eternals, and I liked Eternals. Now you guys can't be the same people complaining about the Celestial. Okay, they'll get to it when they get to it. But now we know it will be. They will get to it in Captain America: Brave New World. So adamantium being introduced, and apparently this is going to be something that's going to be mentioned by Thunderbolt Ross in this movie. So how do you feel about this one, Sham?
Feeling good about it. This is definitely something that has been on their. I don't know. I guess just on the list of things that people were just waiting for Marvel to do, because that was something that they had teased, and people were just waiting on it. They're like, okay, so what? So what does it mean? Did you just forget about it? And they probably forgot about it, but at least they're doing something with it. So, yeah, I mean, this is a good thing, and we get an adamantium, which further confirms the X-Men. Like you guys said, we're not getting into Deadpool spoilers, but just further confirming, X-Men are coming. We'll be getting more mutants. We'll be getting more X-Men. So this is all good news. So I'm happy with it. I enjoyed Eternals too, but this wasn't one of the things where I'm like, it's ruining my experience having no payoff from this. But I'm glad that we are getting some kind of payoff.
Kendall.
So I'm gonna be the opposite here. I'll be honest. One, this did not move the needle, and two, it's almost disappointing.
Really?
And it's not because I don't want Adam. It's not because I'm now all of a sudden I don't want the X-Men.
Yeah, you're the biggest X-Men guy we have here. Or I don't know, big, but you're like, banging the drum. But I want X-Men stuff in these movies. Now you're getting it. And you're like, it's underwhelming.
It's underwhelming because we're playing these games. Like, we just went with another. We talked about this last week. EJ. We were going into this. We were like, if we don't hear anything this weekend, and we still have no idea how the X-Men are showing up, this would be a failed weekend. And we've gone back this weekend. I still have no idea how the X-Men are showing up.
I told you it was gonna happen. I told you.
You told me. You told me, and I was like, "This would be crazy." I was like,
I think you'd be very disappointed. Shamar, he sat there. He was like, after these movies, after this thing, we gonna know how the X-Men will be. They gonna announce an X-Men. I'm like, Kendall, they ain't gonna.
Yeah, I said it on our show. I was like, we're getting an actor. I was like, we're getting Glenn Powell coming on stage. We're getting, whoever coming on stage playing Magneto. Like, we didn't get anything. They didn't even announce the movie.
Try to warn you, brother.
How do we know that the movie's coming out from like Variety and all these places? We have a writer, but they couldn't announce that the movie's coming out. Like, to me, that's where they've dropped the ball with this thing. So I don't want to hear about adamantium when I know this can have nothing to do with Wolverine. It's gonna have absolutely nothing to do with Weapon X, because they're just gonna reboot the universe anyway.
Well, that goes back to, are they? We keep saying that, but like, we have a Deadpool and Wolverine movie out. I'm not getting any spoiler, but that's out there. Watch it, and that's obviously a part of this conversation. We have adamantium now in the 616 universe. That's not part of this conversation. I don't know what's gonna happen. I am now, and I guess that's a good thing. I don't know if it gives me anxiety as a fan, not knowing. I have no idea where this is going. But I sit here in terms of, I have no idea where this is going in terms of like how they're gonna end this, where the mutants come in. Like, we're just so off the beaten path with this, and again, it gives me anxiety because I just like the fact that I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. This makes me a little worried that this is gonna get really wacky and maybe dumb. But I always give creators benefit of the doubt. So let's see how they come up with this. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that whatever this thing is, I don't think they're gonna like. Oh, they're gonna talk about adamantium, but it's not gonna matter. I think that this will stick somehow. Even if there's a rebooted universe, somehow like the celestial being in the Arctic is still gonna be how adamantium gets brought up. But I don't know. It's a big ass celestial. I'm looking at this picture still. I mean, that's a lot of adamantium. Like I don't know what. I mean, Wolverine's one little. Well, we don't know how tall he is in the move forward, but he's one man still in the Marvel universe, and I guess it's Lady Deathstrike. And I mean, how much adamantium will anybody really need? I guess would be the question I would have.
I mean, I guess my only question is just, I thought adamantium was just like refined or purified vibranium.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
So I guess it's just a deviation from.
Oh yeah, they're going way off. They're going way off the thing of what adamantium is.
Okay. Interesting.
Which I don't really mind, honestly. But yes, this is very different. Yeah, this is totally not adamantium. I'm actually looking up now the definition of like what adamantium is and how it came about. But yeah, this would be, according to Marvel Comics, the components of alloy are kept in separate batches, typically in blocks of resin before molding. Adamantium is prepared by melting the blocks together and mixing the components with resin evaporates. The alloy must then be cast within 8 minutes. Marvel Comics adamantium has an extremely stable molecular structure that prevents it from being further molded even if temperature is high enough to keep it in its liquidated form. In its solid form, it's nearly impossible to destroy or fracture in this state, and when molded to a sharp edge, can penetrate most lesser materials with minimal force. So none of that's going to be happening. Well, maybe it's something with taking the celestial and maybe combining some of these aspects that will get them to the adamantium, but obviously a lot of this is not going to be involving adamantium. In this aspect, in this historic way that Marvel described it in the comic books. I'll give you guys the last thoughts on this. Last word. Overall, on these panels, do you feel better? And maybe this is a very short answer. Better or worse? Do you feel better or worse about Marvel today than you did going into today? I'll ask Kendall first. Better or worse?
Man, worse. I don't want to sound negative. But I can't say I feel better. So if that means if me saying I can't say I feel better means I feel worse, then take that for what it's worth. But to me, I just feel like, again, they had an opportunity to give us X-Men. They balked. They felt the Downey thing is bigger, which
it's massive.
To me, it's not.
It's
massive. But it is massive.
Yeah.
To me personally, it's not. But it would be for a lot of people. It being, and again, it didn't get totally spoiled, but I do think that they got hurt by the fact that, there were some scoopers. Shout out to My Time to Shine. Hello. I told you, EJ, I was like, I'll give the scoopers their credit if they're right.
They were on the money.
And so, I'll give them credit for that. But I do think they got hurt a little bit by the fact that this got leaked. Because if nobody knew, I mean, yeah, this would have been the most shocking of reveals in years. But still, like, to have no X-Men or anything, and no Black Panther, another thing. There's a lot of stuff. Not just Black Panther, but no Shang-Chi, no Doctor Strange.
I mean, there was rumors. Some people were hopeful that we'd get something with the Scarlet Witch. And
Scarlet Witch.
There was some Scarlet Witch Instagram things coming up. People like, Scarlet Witch thing coming out. And
Ironheart, Armor Wars.
Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff. I think anything involving television is gonna have to go to.
There's a lot of stuff. Like even
that's gonna go to D23.
I don't like even with D23. Like they spent this entire thing talking about movies we already knew were coming out. Like in Doomsday, to be fair, the shifted title, but everything else is something that we knew was happening. And not only did we know what's happening, but like we really didn't learn anything about these movies besides Doomsday. Everything else we didn't learn anything massive. So it's like,
we learned a little bit about Thunderbolts.
Man, but not
A little bit.
not anything credible. I mean, shoot, man, and that's the
You
movie
know, we
people
know
probably
John.
care the
We know
least
John Walker.
about.
We know John Walker has a kid. He's a young father. He's the father of a young kid apparently in this movie. Ghost has a new
I'll be
costume.
nice.
But
I'll
we
be
do
nice
know
about
there
it.
is a plot thing that apparently Thunderbolts that like it seems like Val has pit all these assassins against each other, and they're
Right.
realizing that all the people she's hired they're now fighting each other because she's trying to basically get rid of them. So
Right.
little thing there, but you're right. Not a lot of
Right.
things
Like
were not
nothing
revealed,
groundbreaking about anything besides the Doom thing. Which again, the Doom thing is massive, but like,
and we got Galactus for Fantastic Four. So
yeah, but we knew Galactus was in the movie. Like,
well,
that's
they didn't announce it. I don't think though.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, but that's not news.
Right.
Like, we didn't learn anything about
Yeah.
a lot of
I got,
these
I got you.
projects, and we got a new title for Fantastic Four. Like, this is supposed to be something groundbreaking, and we didn't hear anything. So again, I have to say, I can't say they got worse, but I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, we're still spinning our wheels a little bit with Marvel. Like,
Oof.
D23's got a lot to cover. They got a lot of ground to cover because again, we know nothing about Doctor Strange, Black Panther, X-Men, Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel 2. What's the deal with Beast and Monica Rambeau? We had that trailer, we had that post-credit scene a year ago. We still don't know what it has anything to do. I came on here being like, that definitely was Avengers versus X-Men. That was a tease to
I
Avengers
know.
versus X-Men.
I mean, I feel bad for people listening to our last podcast. It's half of it is an Avengers versus X-Men podcast for a movie that's not happening.
I'm like even more confused. I'm like, where does Monica Rambeau and Beast fit into any of this? I just watched the Deadpool movie. We'll talk about that in our Deadpool podcast. Where does any of that fit into Doomsday? Like, I'm totally lost. It could be cool, but I can't help but feel like I'm totally lost by where the direction was. And then Fantastic Four are gonna show up. I don't know. They're in a million different directions right now. I can't say it's terrible, but I'm nervous. I'll put it that way.
I asked Kendall for a short answer, and I got probably 5 minutes of Kendall here. So not to shortchange you, Sham, but quickly, do you feel better or worse from where Marvel is right now? After before you can, compared to where you came into today.
I feel better. Yeah, I definitely feel better. I didn't have my expectations weren't very high. It sounds like you guys' expectations were very high. My expectations were not high, and just based on Marvel's past. I'm not gonna go all. You guys know how low I am on Marvel right now, but my expectations were not high. So this exceeded my expectations. I wasn't expecting to get any of this. I was expecting maybe a new logo, and though they showed some footage to the people there, and Fantastic Four are coming out on such and such date, and then that'll be it. That's what I was expecting, but we got more than that. So I'm so I'm pleased with what we got. So I got to give them credit where credit is due. They impressed me. They gave me more. How much of this credit I need to give to Bob Iger, I don't know, because Kevin Feige was just content with giving us nothing lately. But in the Russos, great news, fantastic that they were there talking about their passion regarding the work that they've done and what they're going to put into these new Avengers projects. That's all very good to me. So I give this. I feel better now. I think this is more secure. They focus on the positive, and they're doing that. So I feel better.
I think Shamar's right about that. I think if there's one obvious positive that we still take away from it, it's Marvel or the Russos agents, whoever leaked it to the trade last week, they screwed up. This needed to be announced at Comic-Con. I mean, I know me and Kendall kind of argued about that back and forth. That now watching the reaction for everything, you were right, Kendall.
Undercut them quite a bit.
Yeah, it undercut them in a way that was unnecessary. That was a mistake they did. For everybody involved. Again, whoever leaked it. But I gotta say I feel worse. I gotta be real. I gotta say I feel worse. Now, it's weird because I came out of a Deadpool movie where I felt good. So it's not like I feel worse than I did prior to Deadpool, if that makes sense. But I feel like after Deadpool, I felt a certain level. Then I was ready for Comic-Con today, and that brought me back. so literally a 2 steps forward, 1 step back feel for me when it comes to where I feel about Marvel. The Robert Downey thing is just it's bizarre to me. It just is. Again, does not mean it can't be great. I always have that preface every time we do a show. They do ideas. Some ideas are dumb. Some ideas are great, and we say whether we think they're dumb or great. And sometimes we're right that they're dumb, and they end up doing it and it's dumb. And sometimes they do it and it's great, and we're wrong. So to God, I hope I'm wrong. And I think he will perform extremely well because he's a great actor and the Russos are great directors. But this all feels very goofy to me, and it feels like this is gonna be a tall task. That really took the wind out of this for me. And me and Kendall talked about it. I mean, I didn't think he'd get all that stuff with the X-Men, but Kendall's confidence gave me some hope that, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we will get something pretty substantial.
I'm legitimately shocked that the X-Men weren't even mentioned. I'll be honest.
The words X-Men were not mentioned. Now, Adamantium was mentioned, and Kevin Feige joked that he was, the fact that, that Harrison Ford even said the word adamantium. He said, as a nerd, I feel like I can die easy now. That's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. And I can imagine that. That's pretty neat when you're the creator for all this. But yeah, we don't have anything still with the X-Men. Nothing. And
all they had to do was announce it. That's all they had to do.
That wasn't gonna happen. And like I said, I told you that wasn't gonna happen because I think that this is a purely post multiverse saga thing. I think that and maybe
which is so bizarre what Feige said about after Deadpool we're in the mutant era. And he didn't say saga, but
he kind of
what does Doomsday have to do with the mutant?
Well, I think when we get to Secret Wars, I think that I think a lot of those X-Men characters that were in these Fox movies, I think a lot of them are gonna be in it. I think we're gonna start seeing more mutants over the next however many years. In various different aspects, but then
that goes back to what me and Shamari talked about. And we'll talk about this on the Deadpool review, but it's we're still playing these games with the let's go back to the old. Let's go back to let's play the hits. It's why do we have to play? Why can't we get a new version of the X-Men? And we're not even gonna tease that we're getting a new version of the X-Men. And I get that maybe they don't want to tease something while they have another one that they're still trying to sell. And that's a hard thing to do. But man, it's disappointing. The other thing I will say real quick is, what do you guys think of? Do you guys think that the Doctor Doom look that Downey was rocking in the mask? You think that is? You think that they just put that together?
Oh yeah, no, that was a real thing.
I hope not. I hope not, because I don't even care.
That was something you get out of
That's something you get out. Yeah, that's a party. That's a Party City Halloween section.
Spirit Halloween, whatever
that better not be the design for Doctor Doom.
Yeah, Kendall, he's not gonna be wearing no Party City costume. He's gonna have something a little better.
He got the robe on. I'm I don't know, man.
No, I think the point was that he was. I think he came out. There was an army of Dooms that came out. So I think the point was that he was supposed to look like them. So that was the thing. He's not gonna actually look like that. No, that's pretty funny. No, I think he'll be fine. I think the costume will be fine. I think he'll look great. Again, my trepidation is purely just from this. I think the silliness of having Doctor Doom, your instruction, to be a variant, and I hope that when they move forward, that we get a different Doctor Doom. Whenever it happened to this version of him, I don't want Robert Downey to be Doctor Doom for the foreseeable future. And it's ridiculous because he will be awesome. He's a great actor. It's just. He literally played the most important character. It would be different if he was Weasel. It would be different if he was, just some random character nobody really cared about. He's Tony Stark. You can't separate him from that. So
Ali went from Cottonmouth to Blade. Nobody cared because
that's a perfect example. It's all right, Cottonmouth. The thing wasn't really we don't really. I guess it's technically Marvel Studios, but they didn't act like it. And okay, yes, we love Luke Cage, but a Harlem gangster.
And for example,
he just happens to be nobody.
People talked about Matt Mikkelsen. Me and Shamari talked about that a lot. If we talked about the one hiccup was he did play Caecilius in Doctor Strange, and I kept saying no one cares. Caecilius, you guys wearing face paint. No one even remember that. He looks totally different. He's gonna be wearing a mask anyway. But this is different because. Yeah. If he was playing Caecilius, it would have been the Terrence Howard, Don Cheadle. No one will recognize whatever. Wait,
this is not
that. this is definitely not that. This is them saying this is going to be a Tony Stark variant. So
Yeah. And man, if I was one guy, if I was him, I'd be sipping, something good right now, man. If I'm James Gunn, I think you dodged a bullet, man. I think you had a good weekend. You didn't announce you didn't do anything this weekend. Like, I'll be honest, DC. I'll be honest, it was a little bit of a disappointing weekend in my opinion, but I think they kind of did what Marvel with DC did a couple years ago when Marvel had that crazy slate they came out with. DC just didn't do anything. Like, yo, we not.
Yeah, they got out of the paint.
Yeah, and it ended up being, I guess, a good idea, but I don't know. Marvel just wrecked them with all these crazy titles. I think they tried to do the same thing, and this time I think it worked. I think this time, because the reaction at Hall H, I feel like it's very different than the reaction I'm seeing on the internet. I think there are a lot of people skeptical of what Marvel's doing with this. So let's see, man. Rise to the challenge. You got years to figure this stuff out. We're full speed ahead now towards the end of the multiverse saga. Let's finish it strong. That's gonna do it for this edition of Hero Talk. Thank you guys so much for watching us on the YouTube stream. Of course, if you enjoy all of our podcasts, you can catch all of our shows on New Generation Podcast Network on all audio streaming platforms. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcast, you can catch us. Again, YouTube, New Generation Media. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the channel. Make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, New Generation Pod, Instagram, New Generation Podcast. Follow us individually on social media. Kendall is on Twitter, New Gen Ken. Shamari is on Instagram and Snapchat, MTSham22. You can find me on Twitter, EJ_Stewart, Instagram, and TikTok, Action EJ. That'll do it for now. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. For Kendall, for Shamari, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.